Hi, welcome back to 5-Minute Life Hacks. This is your host, Natalia Ambrosia, coming at you from my very noisy apartment in the middle of Los Angeles, California. Today's episode is actually very relevant to Los Angeles. It is a crash course in astrology and birth charts. I'm really into it, and I do find it a useful guidance tool that I think can help you through life. Of course, only taking what resonates. I also think even if you don't care about astrology, it's good to know what a birth chart is in case you hear it in conversation, or if you live in LA, you'll know a little bit more about it. Now, I just have to preface this by saying that I'm by no means an expert. I'm an advanced beginner. I'm just very interested. I find myself talking about this all the time. I will suddenly be sitting in front of a friend talking about how my Venus is in Scorpio and my moon is in Aquarius, and then I'll look at them because they're looking at me blankly, and I'm like, do you know what a birth chart is? And most of them will say no, and then I'll have to start this explanation that I'm going to give you, and most people find it quite interesting. So here we go. So you probably know what your star sign is, right? This is the sign that you've read about your entire life. I'm a Libra. I was born October 12th. Maybe you've looked at a few horoscopes, found some relevant. Maybe you didn't find it relevant. But I guarantee you've probably, if you've thought about it, asked yourself this question. Even if something resonates, how does it make sense that everybody born in October, let's say, would have the same attributes or have the same horoscopes? That doesn't make any sense. Now, this is a great question, but it is only a little piece of the puzzle. Actually, in astrology, your star sign, or what you've grown up with, is actually your sun sign, meaning that that is the position the sun was in when you were born. And so it's going to reflect a big part of your personality, but it's not all of it. Now, that's where birth charts come into the picture. Because, of course, if the sun was ruled by a certain astrological sign, what about other planets? Where were they and what signs were they ruled by? And that's actually what's going to give you your birth chart. Everybody was born at exact different time at exact different place, so everybody's going to have a different birth chart. So if we look at it that way, that means that if we look at the moon or Mercury or Venus, for example, these are planets and they all have different attributions. So for example, the moon reflects how you feel on the inside, your emotions. Mercury is communication, the way you communicate. Venus is the planet of love and abundance. It's how you love. So if you look at what signs were ruling these planets when you were born, you're going to have a better picture of your personality. So for example, I'm a Libra because that's my sun sign, but my Mercury was in Scorpio when I was born, which means that I communicate like a Scorpio. Venus was in Scorpio as well, so it means I love like a Scorpio. And my moon, the moon was in Aquarius. So the way I feel on the inside, the way I have emotions, that is like an Aquarius. And so once you start putting these planets together, you start to get a better picture of your personality, and it seems to resonate more. So I'm only listing a few of the planets because I don't want to overwhelm you, but those are the ones that I tend to look at the most, love and relationships and communication. And so if you want to find out your birth chart, I recommend you go to cafeastrology.com or you download the CoStar app. You need to know your place of birth and your time of birth because, of course, the planets move quite quickly. Some of them move every few minutes. Some of them move every few hours. Some of them move every few months. And this is why the time and place of birth is going to be really important. It's going to give you your personalized chart that almost no one else in the world has. And I've found that friends who don't even know anything about astrology find them quite relevant and useful. And we all know that when we read a little bit more about ourselves, we get to know ourselves a little bit better, and that's always useful information. Now, the last thing I'll leave you with is the way it works is, NASA can predict where the planets are and where they're going to move. That is just a fact, right? And in astrology ascribes each planet with a different sign, and it moves with the planets. So if your planets and signs were in a specific spot when you were born, we can track how the signs are going to move with the planets, how that energy is going to move. And that's how they can use guidance and predict the future. And I'll just leave you with that thought. Now, if you want to know more about this, like I said, go to Cafe Astrology or download CoStar, or you can also, if you want to read more about it, download or buy the only astrology book you'll ever need. It is by Joanna Martine Wolfuk. It is very well organized, very easy to read, although it's a lot. And if you don't want to know more, that's cool too. At least you know a little bit more about birth charts now. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to maybe know a little bit about what I'm talking about. As always, please feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and tell me what you think at Natalia Ambrosia. Have you looked up birth charts before? Is it helpful? I'm sending you lots of love and light and stars and sunshine. Have a wonderful day. Bye.